that I think supports these is not going back unto Egypt, America, Edom, etc., in order to satisfy our needs. Woe unto them who go down to Egypt. This is Isaiah 31 and 1, which has an interesting story behind it, but I'm just going to pull this verse. Woe to them that go down to Egypt for help, and stay on horses, and trust in chariots, because they are many, and in horsemen, because they are very strong. But they look not unto the Holy One, O Israel, neither seek the Lord. Right, so if you're going into Egypt, or to the heathen, or to anyone outside of the elect of the nation of Israel, you are ultimately not seeking the Most High, and you're pulling yourself further away. Here it's talking about military might, but that can relate to things like the medicine from Esau's system, right? You're physicians of lies, or you're physicians of no value and foragers of lies, right? And the book of Job speaks to that. Food, ways of thought or behaving, chasing the almighty dollar, the religions that have come forth from the kingdom of the Edomites, looking to the Edomites in order to for food is another one, right? To the best of your ability, separating yourself from the different types of foods that are highly promoted by Esau Edom. Fast food, that's something I gave up years ago. Sugar is another one that I gave up recently. It's like very, very toxic to your body. It is a neurotoxin, and Esau dumps it into pretty much everything. Processed foods of any kind, right? Even the pesticides and sort of the different types of farming methods for meat and vegetables that are very toxic, and doing the best that I can to consume foods that are organic or grow my own foods, which it's not easy to do that. It can be very expensive, and it takes a lot of time. Not everyone has the means to do it. I have been fortunate that the Most High has provided me ways to do it. But doing it to the best of your ability, the Most High will look favorably upon that, the effort to separate from the kingdom, even if it's something very, very small. For me, none of these changes happened overnight. These happened over the course of months, if not years. And there were many times where, I hate to say it, but it's like I kind of looked back. I looked back into Egypt, and I went back to Egypt. It helped it many times. I did, fall into weakness, but I have still continued to make an effort and continue to reach out and pray to the Most High to help me get through this. And He has shown His support tremendously, and helped me come out of a lot of different things, despite the fact that I went back to Egypt for help. Let me just make this comparison for somebody that don't know Egypt and sort of our final captivity. Bring thee into Egypt again with slave ship. Right? This was a prophecy that we received. I believe Moses received this. Right? This is Deuteronomy 28 and 68. It talks about the curses that shall befall us for disobedience. And this is after we left Egypt. And the Lord, Deuteronomy 28 and 68, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Buy means redeem you. And what this is prophesying of is the captivity that we have had in the last 400 years at the hands of the kingdom of Edom, in particular, in slavery and bondage, right? It's been highly publicized that the kingdom of Judah, which consists of the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, the southern kingdom, right, were brought by slave ship from West Africa, among other places, into the Americas. But the slave ships also came from Europe, where we had ruled for a period of time, and it also involved the northern tribes too, who had much earlier at that point had fled to the Americas, and they were living in Central and Southern and Northern America. In particular, I'm referring to the Native Americans and the Native Indians, the Aztecs, the Incas, the Mayas, right? These were the tribes that had fled the land of Israel a long time ago. And I think perhaps in the future I'll go more into that if people have questions about that. But again, Revelation also speaks to equating Egypt, because again, there's no other account of us going into Egypt again. But the scriptures make it clear it's talking about modern day Babylon, which is America. Revelation, dead bodies, Egypt. Right, Revelation chapter 11 and 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where the Most High was crucified. And what this is talking about is our dead bodies, is us being in a spiritually dead state. That's spoken of in, what is that? What is that book? Ezekiel 37, I believe, the shadow of the valley of death, where we were dry bones, right? We were dry bones, dry dead bones, because we didn't have the truth and the understanding of our heritage in the scriptures, right? And so our dead bodies lying in the streets here is a metaphor for that. And of course it's saying this is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, because Egypt, because it's our captivity. Egypt is synonymous with our bondage. And Sodom, because of all of the wickedness that is promoted and occurs here, and where the Most High is crucified. This is a reference to the image of the Messiah, who has been, essentially turned into not having our images posted of him where they don't even look like what he looked like, right? Images posted of where he has leprous skin and straight blonde hair. And the truth is, he was an Israelite. He sprang from the tribe of Judah, and he had an afro and he had dark skin, and the scriptures speak to that, to his image. It talks about it in Revelation. But that's when it's referring to when his image was crucified, it was destroyed, right? This is a closer depiction of what he actually looked like. On my site here, HebrewIsraeliteResearchCenter.org, I go into the appearance of the Most High, I think under the basics section. Let's see here. Where the Hebrew Israelite depiction of the Messiah comes in the Bible, Revelation 1 and 14. So I have a lot more information discussed here about what he actually looked like, and scriptures that that go into that. It's Revelations here, but there's also other parts in the Bible as well that speak to the image of the Messiah and also the Most High Yahawah himself. Ezekiel comes to mind as well. So getting back on topic here, this idea of patience, I mentioned that a lot of the changes I made, they didn't happen overnight, and a lot of those changes involved doing what I could in order to clean my temple, which is essentially our bodies, right? We know our bodies are a temple, where the Messiah says in John chapter 2, verse 21, but he spake of the temple of his body, right? He was just talking about destroying the temple and raising it back up. And we see the actions that he took to physically cleanse the temple at the time of 0 AD. This is in John chapter 2 and verse 15. And when he had made a scourge of small cords, he drove them all out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money and overthrew the tables. Right? So he went and cleaned out the temple. And so our bodies, as we make ourselves a living sacrifice, are in fact the third temple that's coming back together. It's the lively stones that are being built. And it's important for us to cleanse our temple spiritually and physically. Spiritually, of course, that comes through the reading of the Word and washing ourselves with that water and purifying ourselves and our ways and our actions. In terms of what we think, what goes into our mind, are we filling it with the wisdom of the Scriptures and fellowship with the brotherhood, or are we watching Game of Thrones and just learning and taking in more of that like toxic behavior, that intrigue and toxicity and just murder and death and sex craziness that is promoted through like Esau's kingdom. I mean, it's I'm laughing about it, but it's like it is what it is, right? And if you're filling up your mind with that garbage, then you're not. I speak to myself, and I was doing that for a long part of my life. I still do at times. I try not to. But when I'm filling myself up with that garbage, it's detracting from my ability to return to the Most High. But again, physically, it's also true too. So, I myself have gone decades of eating fast food and sugars and sweets and any matter of junk. And that stuff accumulates in your bodies. It accumulates in your tissues. And accumulates in heavy metals. They accumulate in your brain and your organs. And it takes years to clean that stuff out. But the more you clean it out through eating healthy, relying on herbs, eating a lot of spices, everything that's as natural as possible, drinking as pure sources of waters as you can, then the Most High has made it such that your body will start to clean itself. And ultimately, the Most High through the Messiah is the source of the healing. And nothing trumps that, like turning to the Messiah. But these are other ways that supplement it, that the Most High that has provided for us in order to purify our minds and our bodies. I found that the cleaner and healthier I ate, the cleaner and healthier that I actually thought too. I cannot underestimate that effect, and it's a very cool thing that you will start to see happen when you, in some ways almost immediately, when you make these changes, and continually over the next number of months or years you put them into effect. And finally, I have just some more information just about like health and different ideas that help cleanse your temple, whether that's through sunlight, earthing, all these different things. All aspects of the earth are meant to help and heal ourselves. It's really quite amazing the way that the Most High designed it. But Esau has turned a lot of these things around for wickedness to poison us, but there's still a lot that we can do in order to cleanse our temple. But ultimately, it's a process that takes time and involves just having a lot of patience for the Most High to allow the changes and the healing to take place, and to ultimately have faith and again just the patience and waiting on Him to improve our situations and fighting our battles for us. Very, very important. I hope this lesson and this just talk and discussion was edifying. Please do share your thoughts down below if you have some. Absolutely would be interesting to taking a look to see what any other people's thoughts on the matter. And looking forward to seeing you in the next video. Shalom.